Hello, dear friends. Welcome back to my channel Quick Literature Guide. Today, we are going to discuss about the University Wits, one of the very important topics in the history of English literature. Without any further delay, let's jump straight into our discussion. Let's get started. The term University Wits was coined by George Sainsbury, a 19th century journalist and author. Who are the University Wits? Christopher Marlowe, Thomas Nashe, Robert Greene, John Lilly, George Peele, Thomas Lodge, and sometimes Thomas Kidd. These writers are grouped as University Wits. You just remember MNG, they were educated from Cambridge. M for Marlowe, N for Nashe, G for Greene. And LLP, Lilly, Lodge, Peel. They were educated from Oxford. Thomas Kidd was not educated from any of the universities, therefore, sometimes he is included and sometimes not. First writer we are discussing is Christopher Marlowe. He was born in the year 1564 and died in 1593. He served the English government as a spy. A warrant was issued against him for blasphemy and he was stabbed to death at the age of 29. Epilogue of Dr. Faustus was written on his tombstone. He was a homosexual, a traitor, and an atheist. He used to write in blank verse. Shakespeare pays a tribute to Marlowe in his famous play As You Like It, where he quotes a line from Marlowe's play Hero and Leander. Ben Jonson also wrote for Marlowe. He writes, Marlowe write in mighty line. Important works of Christopher Marlowe include Dido, Queen of Carthage, Tamburlaine, The Jew of Malta, Dr. Faustus, Massacre at Paris, and a very famous poem, Passionate Shepherd to His Love. Next writer is Robert Greene. He is known for his negative critique of his colleagues. Pandosto by Robert Greene was a direct source for Shakespeare's Winter's Tale. It was a pastoral comedy. Important work by Robert Greene include Greene's Groats, Worth of Wit, Brought with a Million of Repentance, and Honourable History of Friar Bacon and Friar Bungay. In short, it is called Friar Bacon and Friar Bungay. Here we must remember Shakespeare has created a comic character Falstaff. It is the representation of Robert Greene. Next writer is Thomas Nashe. Dido, Queen of Carthage was written by Christopher Marlowe in collaboration with Thomas Nashe. And a play Isle of Dogs written by Ben Jonson and Thomas Nashe in collaboration. First important work is Summer's Last Will and Testament. It is a comedy. And another work is The Unfortunate Traveller or Life of Jack Bilton. It is a picaresque novel. You must remember that this is the first picaresque novel. John Lilly was the first person who started Euphues. It is a writing style. Euphues is the Greek for graceful and witty, where you use lots of similes, alliteration, mythology, and nature. Another contribution was macabre. The element of macabre in drama was introduced by John Lilly. Among the contemporaries of Shakespeare, John Lilly was the one who did not write any tragedy. 6 important comedies written by John Lilly are Endymion, Sappho and Phao, Alexander and Campaspe, Midas, Mother Bombay, and Galathea. Other dramas written by John Lilly include Love's Metamorphosis, Women in the Moon, and Maid's Metamorphosis. Lilly is considered the primary influence on the plays of William Shakespeare, especially on romantic comedies. Here we must remember that Love's Metamorphosis by John Lilly was a major source for Shakespeare's Love's Labour Lost, and Galathea was a major source for his Midsummer Night's Dream. Next writer is Thomas Lodge. Thomas Lodge was a voyager. He wrote works which were inspired by classical French and Italian writers. His works will inspire Shakespeare at one time. His important work include his pamphlet against Stephen Gusson. Stephen Gusson published a pamphlet, School of Abuse, and Lodge responded with a pamphlet, Defense of Poetry, Music and Stage Plays. Gusson again wrote plays confuted in 5 acts. Lodge, in return, wrote Alarum Against Usurers. Here he has exposed the way how moneylenders exploit. He wrote a prose romance called Rosalind, which influenced Shakespeare to write As You Like It. He also wrote Scyllae Metamorphosis, a verse fable, which influenced Shakespeare to write Venus and Adonis. Next, he wrote Euphues' Golden Legacy. He wrote some historical works, which includes History of Robert II, Duke of Normandy, A Looking Glass for London and England, and Wounds of Civil War. Next writer is George Beale. His important works include Arraignment of Paris, a pastoral comedy. It was presented by Children of Chapel before Queen Elizabeth. George Beale wanted to present that Elizabeth is better than the goddesses. Next important work we have Famous Chronicle of King Edward I. It is a power struggle between Edward I and Llewellyn. It is based on the legend of Robin Hood. Another important work is Titus Andronicus. This is the first tragedy written by Shakespeare in collaboration with George Beale. Another important work is Battle of Althazar. It is a 5-act non-fiction play that tells the story of a battle. The last important work is The Old Wives' Tale. The last writer from this group is Thomas Kyd. Thomas Heywood said, famous Kyd. Thomas Kyd is famous because he initiated the revenge tragedy or the Spanish tragedy in English theatre. His 4 important works include Solomon Persida, King Lear. The spelling is different from the Shakespeare's King Lear. It is Kingleir. Then the third one is Arden of Feversham, and the fourth one is Edward III. His most famous work is the Spanish tragedy or Hieronimo is Mad Again. It is a Senecan tragedy. This sets the new genre of revenge tragedy in English theatre. We will have a detailed discussion on each of the University Wits and their important works in our next videos. For now, we conclude our journey here. Till then, keep learning, keep sharing. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening.